In tonight's Government Insider, the security of taxpayer data. The deadline for filing your 2015 tax returns is Monday, April 18th, less than 3 weeks away. For some, tax time serves as a financial windfall. For others, it's like pulling teeth. Either way, taxpayers give away a lot of information to one federal agency, the IRS. How well are they protecting it? Joining me with some answers is Gregory Wilshusen, Director of Information Security Issues at the Government Accountability Office. Well, Greg, what kind of sensitive information does the IRS maintain?
Well, IRS maintains and collects a veritable treasure trove of personally identifiable information on taxpayers. This includes name, social security number, address, and your spouse's name and social security number, as well as income, sources of income, to include even like stock transactions and brokerage accounts that you may have. This information can be very personal, and it needs to be protected to a very great extent.
You've been tracking their IT security controls for years. The agency has made some improvements, but significant control deficiencies remain. Here are a few examples. Applying proper password settings, restricting access to servers, and encrypting sensitive user data. Now, Greg, in the world of IT security, this is pretty basic stuff. What's the holdup here?
Well, IRS has developed and documented a very comprehensive information security program. The problem comes, though, when it tries to effectively implement that program over the entire enterprise over time. What we found is, for example, in some instances, IRS had not updated its security policies and plans to reflect the current environment at IRS. We also found that its test and evaluation procedures were not always comprehensive enough to detect known vulnerabilities, and as a result, it did not take appropriate actions to implement corrective actions over those vulnerabilities. And we also found a lingering problem at IRS in which, with regard to how it goes about implementing corrective actions. We looked at 70 correct actions and vulnerabilities that we identified in the previous year, and during 2015, IRS had only implemented about 21 of them. 70%, 49 of them, remain unimplemented.
Well, the way you've explained it, the concerns over compromised data are not theoretical. Last June, the IRS testified that unauthorized third parties accessed their GET transcript application, ultimately stealing data on 720,000 tax accounts. What's with that?
Well, you're absolutely correct, Morris. Last year, the IRS testified and reported that perpetrators using taxpayer-specific information that IRS says that they obtained from non-IRS sources were used to gain unauthorized access to that web application, and were able then to access tax accounts and then use that information for other purposes. For example, it could potentially be used for identity theft. And at IRS, identity theft tax refund fraud is a big problem. In 2013, IRS reported or estimated that it had prevented about $24 billion in such refund fraud. But at the same time, it determined that approximately $5.8 billion in fraudulent refunds were paid out.
Now, Greg, you also discovered a lot of these weaknesses exist outside the IRS, namely in the federal contractors they rely on. How's that?
Well, you're right, Morris. IRS relies to an extent on contractors to perform IT services. And as we've discussed before, people often are the weak link in the security chain. And so it's essential that individuals received proper training. And what we found is that while IRS did a very good job in providing training to its employees, it did not adequately track or ensure that its contractors received computer security awareness training, or that those contractors with significant security responsibilities received appropriate role-based training for their responsibility.
All right, knowing all of this, what does the GAO recommend?
Well, we recommend that IRS update its policies and plans to reflect the current environment, and also make 43 recommendations to address vulnerabilities in its access controls, such as identification, authentication weaknesses, authorization, encryption, and its patch management procedures.
I guess you've got to be optimistic. Should I ask if you're not?
I'm always optimistic, but I'm also realist. And IRS has a tough road to go, but they have made significant progress over the past few years, and I expect for them to continue to do so.
Gregory Wilshusen, Director of Information Security Issues with the GAO. Thanks again, Greg.
Thank you.